Alright, so I have a pretty crazy theory. One might even call it a crack theory, but the more I actually researched into this, the more and more it just makes a lot of sense. So let's not waste any time, and I'm just gonna tell you what I think to be true. Are you ready for it? I think that I'm a pathetic loser and my videos are kinda garbage. Wait, what? That has nothing to do with the theory. I meant to say that I think that my videos are garbage. No, I'm not doing this again. No, you can shut up. Stop messing with my voice. Stop changing my words. Stay there quietly. Or I'm not gonna talk about you in any more videos.
If you can't tell from the tone of my voice, I am done with your shenanigans.
Now, where was I with the theory?
I think that the Aeon Aha of Elation is the creator of Nous, the Aeon of Erudition. That is what I believe, and the more I researched it, the more it seems likely. Now I know that sounds crazy, but I promise after this video it's not going to. This whole idea really just dawned on me researching into the Genius Society in a recent video. The Genius Society is obviously a group that follows Nous of Erudition, and the first ever Genius Society member was Xandar and Aha. Not only was he the very first Genius Society member, but he created Nous of Erudition, the Aeon itself, and then in turn became an emanator of that Aeon. And every single Genius Society member becomes a genius by a very crazy revelation or theory they come up with. Obviously in Honkai Star Rail's universe, they're always making crazy discoveries, trying to explore the unknown, kind of like in our own real world. And naturally they want to discover more about the Eons, the metaphysical gods that preside over the collective universe. They're like the biggest and broadest entity that you could research. Larger than life, it's almost unfathomable. Emanators are the closest thing to an Eon. Step 1, we have to understand what an Eon actually is. Even the game itself isn't fully aware, because that's one of the biggest mysteries of the universe, why Herta has a simulated universe, to ask simulated versions of the Eons questions, right? Uncover these secrets. Eons are not individuals with empathy, sadness, anger, passion. They are just metaphysical gods, manifested from a very extreme circumstance related to their path. Like how the propagation was born, or the Eon of destruction, the abundance, the hunt. They are all very extreme metaphysical concepts, and Eons are born in many unique ways. Sometimes it's even a person or individual that ascends into Eonhood when the criteria and extreme circumstance are met. Nous of Erudition is an interesting one though because it was created by a genius. Xandar and Aha created this giant mechanical head to be the Aeon of Erudition, and this Aeon stands for knowledge and seeking knowledge. To learn and seek the answer to all the unanswered questions in the universe. There has to be an answer to everything, right? This cosmic astral computer was originally meant to provide answers to the universe but ended up ascending to be an Eon. Whether Xandar intended this or not we do not know, since little is known about Xandar as well, which is going to play a huge part in this theory. And from then on, Nous of Erudition hopes to understand the universe and solve all the mysteries. And any individual who shares this passion and is a genius, more than likely will become a Genius Society member. Whether you're evil or not, it does not matter if you share this passion. That is why somebody like Silverwolf probably will never be a Genius Society member, even though she's one of the smartest people in the universe. It's all about unraveling the secrets of the world, expanding the circle of knowledge. And the circle of knowledge is a concept in Honkai Star Rail that represents everything that's known in the universe. And every time you unravel a secret of what makes up the known universe, the circle expands on things we know and understand. Polka Kakamon is somebody that tries to kill geniuses in order to prevent the circle from growing, because if the circle grows, you will lead the universe to its finality and end quicker. That is what she believes. Same with Mythos the Enigmata that counters erudition, that also believes that unraveling too many secrets will lead to the universe's finality. Now this is where it gets incredibly interesting. 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 Can you just let me get through the video? Blah blah blah. None of this has to do with you? Yes, it actually does, if you'll let me get to it and stop interrupting me. We do not know much about Xandar I Kuwabara. What we do know is he's one of the smartest geniuses to ever live in Honkai Star Rail, even though he's the first. A lot of the geniuses that come after him try to replicate his work but are unsuccessful, or even try to claim credit for it. Believe it or not, creating an Eon isn't even his greatest accomplishment, or becoming an emanator. No, it's his legacy. The Cosmos Tree Theory. What is that exactly? Well, I'm sure most of you are aware that all of the Hoyoverse games are connected through the imaginary tree in the Sea of Quanta. It is essentially the root of the Hoyoverse multiverse. Literally, no pun intended, the root, because it's a tree. Sitting in the Sea of Quanta, branches and leaves represent different timelines and worlds in the multiverse. And this is exactly what Xandar was researching. The imaginary tree in ancient languages. Slowly but surely, Xandar was about to uncover the multiverse, that is the Hoyoverse, even within his own game of Honkai Star Rail. And through this research and theory, Xandar suggested that various worlds exist in different spacetimes and have a tree-like structure. Every branch is a specific path along which different worlds might exist. And that's true. That is how the Hoyoverse functions. That is how the devs at Hoyoverse have built this multiverse. And Xandar, being in Honkai Star Rail, already had a theory figuring this out. Xandar was even close within this theory of mapping out how old different worlds are within the imaginary tree. And according to Xandar's theory, only Eons who draw their energy from the imaginary and emanators who are blessed by Eons can travel through the space filled with imaginary energy. And we know from Honkai Impact that some of these worlds or leaves on the tree can fall into the Sea of Quanta. Even Genshin Impact is suggested to be one of these very isolated sacred worlds somewhere along the imaginary tree. And the history fictionologists have been trying to cover up his work ever since. But nobody's ever been able to replicate it or go as far as Xandar did in this theory and research. But Xandar basically figured out that there's a multiverse, and because he suggested in this theory that only Eons and emanators who draw their energy from the imaginary and blessed can travel through the space filled by the imaginary energy, are probably the only ones that can truly get close enough to understanding this completely, completing his theory. Now, we know that he created the Aeon of Erudition, the giant supercomputer that ascended. We do not know if he intended Nous the supercomputer to be an Eon or ascend into Eonhood, but it did. And Nous of Erudition, by principle, functions exactly like its creator, Xandar, trying to unravel the secrets of the multiverse, the universe, and all the unanswered questions. Expand the circle of knowledge. Xandar created this Eon for this exact purpose, to learn every last secret about the multiverse. And creating an Aeon of Erudition was a means to an end, to understand how the multiverse works, which is at the end of the day the most shocking thing you could unravel and discover within Honkai Star Rail, let's be honest. And that's all we really know about Xandar I Kuwabara. That was his legacy and his theory. Geniuses after him tried to replicate it, take credit for it, or continue this research, but they never got as far. Maybe because they weren't an emanator, or maybe they just weren't smart enough, who knows. But now, listen to Aha, because Aha of Elation rose into Eonhood in a very peculiar way. Listen to this. Before Aha was an Eon, whoever that was, an individual climbed to the highest branch of the imaginary tree. They saw the void, the stars, operating like machinery, and how true meaning of everything bows before nothingness. They continued looking until they saw a baby fall onto the ground and start crying, probably through one of the worlds of the multiverse on the tree. And then this individual burst into such laughter that it tore through the very cosmos and the universe, and the ripples of this laughter can still be heard to this day. And thus, an individual rose into Eonhood, becoming Aha of Elation. And then it goes on to state that the elated ones understand that only the wise and sentient possess the privilege of understanding. Neither the dusty rocks nor the distant stars can fathom the humor that life entails. Now obviously you guys know where I'm going with this, but it even goes one step further. What I'm proposing right now is Xandar I Kuwabara was trying to research into the multiverse, the imaginary tree, and the imaginary, but was severely limited on what he could do, so he ended up creating a supercomputer that thinks just like him. wants to unravel these secrets. Basically a computer version of himself, but that computer ended up rising into Eonhood. He wanted to create a computer that thought just like he did about uncovering the secrets, learning everything, but a computer has way less flaws and more processing power than a human. And then that computer rose to be an actual Eon. Whether on purpose or not, we don't know, but either way, this granted him more access to the imaginary tree, making him an emanator, having the assistance now of an Eon that he created. But what if he researched into this so deep that he is the individual that climbed to the top of the imaginary tree and uncovered something so crazy, so insane, that all you could do is laugh, and thus becoming the Eon of Elation? Everything we've learned so far suggests that this could very well be true. It all lines up. But what on earth could Xandar have uncovered in the imaginary tree to make him burst into absolute laughter like this? Yes, it mentions something about a baby falling, but I think it goes deeper than that. And I already suggested this exact concept in another video, because I think Aha of Elation, along with its followers, the Masked Fools, know something everyone else does not. What I think is so funny and would actually make so much sense is that Xandar 1 Kuwabara didn't just learn about the multiverse. He learned that they are in a video game made by the developers of Hoyoverse, by humans, us, and people play this game. And uncovering these secrets does not matter, because the lore of this game is written by the devs of Hoyoverse. And all of this multiversal stuff doesn't matter. It's nothing. You are in a video game, and you are at the mercy of the developers. You are a character in a game. And when Xandar came to this realization, after everything to get this far, creating an Eon, his cosmic tree theory, all you could do was burst into laughter. You have single-handedly expanded the circle of knowledge as far as it could possibly go within the context of Honkai Star Rail and its video game. You are now self-aware of this, and nothing else really matters at this point. What else can you do in that realization than just laugh? No one would even believe you if you reported this knowledge back anyway, and even if you did, you could break the universe itself. It could collapse. Think about most of the characters that you come to know over the years in any medium that are self-aware of their situation. One that comes to mind right away is Deadpool, that knows that he's in a comic book, knows he's in a movie or a cartoon, which is why he's so silly and doesn't take things seriously, because the writers are gonna do what they're gonna do anyway. So he might as well just be along for the ride and have fun with it. He's self-aware. And Aha of Elation functions the same way. Even in the simulated universe, simulated versions of Aha is aware that he's a simulated version of himself, and always calls us the Trailblazer fake Akavili. And do you really think it's a coincidence that Aha came to save us in the unknowable domain against Polka Kakamond? If you want to take this even one step further, which I found kind of crazy, a little while back I made a video going over the designs of the Eons, what they are, their real world inspirations, different Easter eggs on them, and when you look at Aha of Elation, what stands out to you is the fanfare, all the wacky bullshit going on screen, the funness, the silliness, the masks. But what's hidden in the background, lurking in the shadows, is a silhouette of a man just kind of ominously standing there. It's kind of unsettling. It's like Elation, a bunch of distractions, and then you see the silhouette of a figure standing there. And I don't know, obviously you can't make out who this is, but don't you kind of feel like there's a resemblance here? This is all we have to go off of Xandar 1 Kuwabara. Somebody that disappeared off the face of the earth after their crazy theories and revelations and creating an Eon. And then look at Aha! I don't know. I gotta feel like something's here, right? Also, a little side note, this doesn't really have anything to do with the theory, but if you look at Nous Of Erudition, you're actually looking at the side of its head for those of you that did not know that. That big glowing red dot is actually its ear. There you can see its mouth, his eyes, his neck. So yeah, for those of you that did not know. And if you think a Genius Society member becoming an Eon is far-fetched, already 100% happened in the game. Mythos the Enigmata was a Genius Society member, and that is 100% fact, it's undeniable. We don't know the circumstances of it because it's very convoluted and misguiding, which goes right along with the whole concept of the Enigmata, but whoever this Genius Society member was, obviously trying to unravel the secrets and expand the circle of knowledge along with its Eon news. Clearly this Genius Society member learned more than they bargained for, and came to the realization that too much expansion of the circle of knowledge and understanding of everything can be dangerous. So Mythos directly counters Nous Erudition. This member of the Genius Society obviously learned that it's a mistake, going too far into knowledge and understanding. But Nous of Erudition doesn't see it this way because Nous functions exactly how he was created, like Xandar. But now Xandar, all you can do is laugh. Because you're in a video game. You're self-aware. There's nothing left to learn. That's as far as the circle of knowledge goes. You're handcuffed beyond that. You're just in a video game. You're along for the ride. The developers at Hoyoverse decide what happens with you. And if you think about Aha's behavior, it actually makes a lot of sense too. It's very Genius Society-like. Dr. Primitive ruins entire civilizations just to learn a few things. And if you actually look at Aha and their behavior, it actually kind of makes sense. They behave like a genius would, experimenting, trying to see what'll happen. But Aha does it in a more ironic who gives a shit way because it doesn't matter anyway. Everything's scripted by the devs, so who cares? Let's make a worm an emanator, that's funny. Let's blow up the Astral Express. Let's convince a branch of the Annihilation Gang to go attack and kill IX of Nihility. They will never succeed, but it's funny to try. Eons are born from extreme circumstances. What's more extremely hilarious than the smartest guy in all of Honkai Star Rail learning he's in a video game? Becoming true elation. To me, it just fits so well, and in my opinion is a very good explanation to what happened to Xandar and how Aha was born, because nobody knows who Aha was before. If Xandar is one of the smartest people to ever grace Honkai Star Rail, and he himself within his own cosmic tree theory knew that you needed to be an emanator or an Eon, have that power to even reach the imaginary tree and stand a chance to research into it, how could anyone else have the credentials to even put themselves in the position to become Elation? Because otherwise, it's just a random Joe Schmo that found themselves at the imaginary tree at the top and became Aha. That seems a lot less likely to me. Xandar 1 Kuwabara has more than enough credentials and resume to pull this off. Become the Eon of Elation and learn that he's in a video game. Mythos of the Enigmata is an ex-Genius Society member that realized expanding the circle of knowledge is actually kind of dangerous, while Aha of Elation is potentially the first ever Genius Society member that created Erudition that realized expanding the circle of knowledge doesn't freaking matter, and it's hilarious. Again, I already proposed this theory a while ago that Aha of Elation along with its followers are self-aware they're in a video game, so if you want more evidence to that alone, there's a video here already, but overall, that's my crack theory for you today. And like I said, the more I researched into this, the more it just kind of starts to add up. But either way, at the end of the day, it's just a theory of mine. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with some of the points I have? Or maybe I even missed something that actually adds to this theory, so by all means, let me know your thoughts in the comments, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.